So, all who wander are not lost. Honestly, I've seen this on a bumper sticker so many times, and I didn't connect that it was J.R.R. Tolkien. And I've read those books, but I would read this and go, yes, that's true. All who wander are not lost. And this applies specifically, or aptly, not specifically, to the historical misunderstanding that the Israelites were lost in the wilderness for 40 years. Fun fact, at all those times, during all those years, they knew exactly where they were and exactly why they were there. So, begs a question. Why did they walk around in circles for 40 years? Not for fun, that's sure. It wasn't the original plan upon leaving Egypt. Originally, they were supposed to leave Egypt, go to Mount Sinai and receive the law, and then go and conquer Canaan. They were supposed to put their full faith in God, to trust that they could overcome the armies and the battles ahead. But we know what happened. The spies that Moses sent out to scout the land of Canaan came back with reports of giants and great fortified cities. Oh no. And the people quailed. They balked. They said, if only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we might die in this wilderness. Why is God taking us to a land so that we may fall by the sword? Our wives and our children will be carried off. It would be better if we could go back to Egypt. God was not happy. He's like, really, after all I've done and all the strength that I've shown you, this is the thanks I get? So, you will wander. You will walk. You will travel for 40 years, not to get lost, but to take the time needed for this generation who can't handle it, often called the cowardly generation, but we can discuss self-preservation and cowardice at a different time. But to let them age out, and for a new generation who are prepared and who are ready for these challenges to grow up. These were not easy years. The Torah tells us there were attacks and battles, there were droughts, there were plagues, there was internal strife. But the Israelites survived and actually thrived. And then in the book of Deuteronomy, when they are finally on the banks of the Jordan, getting ready to cross over and take the promised land, we read, indeed, God has blessed you in all your undertakings, watching over your wanderings through this great wilderness. God has been with you these past 40 years. You have lacked nothing. They were blessed. Drought, plague, strife. They lacked nothing. They made do with very little. It was easy? No. None of these things. The text tells us otherwise. So what are we to make of this? Well, the Bible is, if nothing else, a difficult read. But as we know, and as experience has taught us, context and perspective are everything. That time in the desert, those 40 years, they had a purpose. It was a time for creating. They built the Mishkan, the tabernacle, that portable temple that they took around with them. They created the rituals and established the holy days that mark the cycle of our holy life. They learned the commandments, and they wove the bonds of nationhood. they wove them strongly. Each difficulty, each delay, each trouble furthered this goal. The wandering wasn't pointless. Just now, as we are in the season of Lent, and we're remembering that Jesus too walked in the wilderness and resisted temptation time and time again through faith. There was a point to those tests. There was a point to these tests. There is a catch. Because if we assume that all difficulties and disasters in life should be chalked up to learning experiences, that all pain and suffering are for a purpose, are we to assume that we must passively accept all that life lays in our path without question? No. Emphatically, no. We can find meaning in disaster and misfortune, but that does not mean that those things happen for a reason. Bad things happen to all people, and most of the time, undeservedly. We are allowed to mourn. We are allowed to rage. We are allowed to fight. Our stories, our faith, they don't excuse that pain. It gives us insight on how we can move through it. They show us how we can stop and help others, how we can work to make the world a better place. It helps to know that the obstacles can be stepping stones, but we are allowed to wish for an easier path and to work towards it. Our traditions bolster us in times of difficulty, not to excuse difficulty itself. The Israelites in the wilderness learned to rely on one another. They built a society not from fear and panic of escaped slaves, but from the strength of shared experience. Today, we are traveling a path that is sometimes pleasant and sometimes frightening. And so, we take strength from our fellow travelers. We share their burdens. They share ours. And when we all can, and take a breath, take a break, enjoy the scenery. You are not lost. We are not lost. We're simply on our way.